So what is the UK two-child cap on benefits? We're going to read into this analysis piece from Al Jazeera, an exclusive from iNews, plus a little bit more for you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an explainer from Al Jazeera asking what is the UK's two-child cap on benefits, which we know the answer of whether Labour will reverse it or not, which we will come to later in the video. We will also be looking at an exclusive from iNews on Starmer's number 10 advisors on young people wanting the two-child benefit cap scrapped. And we will be looking at a YouGov poll, one of the latest YouGov polls on the policy itself, plus a little bit extra if you stick around longer in the video. So guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share across social media so others are notified of this video. So a little bit of different format to what I normally do on this video. So we'll see how this goes. So so what is the two-child benefit cap? Well, the explainer will obviously break it down for us, but essentially is, well, what the situation was basically being implied is that when people had, if you have more than 2 children, essentially in the UK, if you decide to have more than 2 children, you will receive no more additional benefits from the UK government towards that. Now, there are pros and there are cons to keeping or getting rid of the two-child benefit cap. Now, I'm on the side of the two-child benefit cap going. Me personally, I think it's a hindrance on us, and I think also the other factor, which I think is really, really important on this as well, is that if you are somebody who wants more British jobs for more British workers, if you are someone who is from the UK and wants less reliance on immigrants, less reliance on asylum seekers, for less reliance on people abroad coming in, working and contributing to society, which I think is perfectly reasonable. If you are somebody who generally believes that we should have more British jobs for British workers, you should actually be someone. You should actually also be someone who would want the two-child benefit cap scrapped, because you want more families and you want more people to have more births. We want more British population, don't you? So that's why you would be someone that wants that. Now, another consensus argument is also that people have this presence that, you know, that so much taxpayer money is kind of wasted on people if we get rid of it. There's not that much money that would be needed to pay for this. There's really not. If we look at the numbers, it's not in terms of like the other kinds of money that is being spent, especially like the levels of money that was being spent by the previous Conservative government. It's nothing in the sense. But nobody wants to see starving children. Nobody wants to see destitute poverty. Nobody wants to see kids struggling to make it, people trying to survive. Nobody wants to see that. Now, is the two-child benefit cap, getting rid of it, is it going to solve all poverty problems? Absolutely not. Everyone knows that it's not going to solve all the problems, but it will lift a huge amount of people out of destitute. And if we want to have a functioning economy, if we want a good workforce, we want to make sure not just people on the higher end, those on middle income and those on low medium incomes to do well. We want people who are in poverty, who are struggling. We want to lift them up as well. Do we not? And we want to give people the best opportunities that we possibly can. Instead of charading and painting this inhumane picture of them that anybody who's claiming any kind of benefits is bad and they're terrible people. And unfortunately, there's a lot of mindsets out there who generally think that anyone receiving any kind of benefits is flogging off the system or doesn't want to work and contribute to society. When in actual fact, that the vast majority of people who do want to work and do want to contribute to society, but they can't do so, whether it's healthcare, whether they have a disability, whether it's mentally or physical mental disabilities or physical disabilities. There are many factors into it. And also we have to remember that we have a broken NHS system thanks to the last Conservative government as well, who have not helped out the situation as well. So let's read a little bit more into what is the UK's two-child cap on benefits. So the UK's newly elected Labour Party is facing growing calls to abolish the restrictions to benefits paid to parents that were imposed by the previous Conservative government. UK governments have provided financial help towards the cost of raising children since 1946. So pretty much, yeah, the British governments throughout a long time, you know, looking after our kids, ensuring that they have the best future possible. I don't think this is the thing that I'd like to really put. Why would you be against why would you be anywhere near against the idea of not being able to provide for children, giving children and kids everything they need to succeed in society? Why would you not want that? It's a very, very simple question. And to be quite frank, I don't know anybody would not want children to have the best opportunities, the best possible futures. So, however, in recent years, payments to families have come under increasing pressure. And in 2017, the Conservative government limited the number of children families may claim the benefits for to just 2 children. Often said it hit the poorest in British societies the hardest, the 2-child benefit cap has been a source of rancor for many politicians, public figures and anti-poverty campaigners. Hopes have been high that the centre-left Labour Party might reverse the 2-child benefit cap on assuming power. And as we know, that's not what happened, and we'll come to that shortly. However, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and his Finance Minister, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, so far provide reluctance to address the issue while acknowledging the unacceptable extent of child poverty in the UK. They have also cited the poor state of the UK's finances and the cost of extending the benefit system. So the argument from those defending the Labour government, from defending their decision, essentially to keeping the 2-child benefit cap, is because there's a cost to this that is not affording. And my counter argument is this: there should be no cost. No cost. There should not be a question or a debate when it comes to helping the most poorest in society, especially children in society. This should not even be a discussion. And the 2-child benefit cap is hampering families, hampering children's futures. There is no way around this. There's no way around this to explain to blatantly obvious here. You are putting children's futures down by keeping this. It really is not that hard to understand. So, what is the 2-child benefit cap? In short, it limits state benefits, universal credit, and child tax credit to 2 children per family. The 2-child benefit cap was introduced by the Conservative government in April 2017 as part of a wider austerity programme and applies to all children born after that date. At the time of its introduction, the then-Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, argued that the benefits are being paid to larger families were too costly and the limit would ensure that families in receipts of benefits face the same financial choices about having children as those supporting themselves solely at work. But at the same time, what he has done, he has decreased the child birth rate in the UK as well. He has hampered families in doing this as well. Some exceptions do exist, such as cases of rape, which campaigners argue means mothers have to endure additional trauma, providing a sexual assault to claim benefits which they are entitled. So, charities and child poverty campaigners. So, this is about how has the 2-child benefit cap affected families. So, charities and child poverty campaigners have said the 2-child cap on benefits has caused a great deal of hardship of families in the UK. So, Lynn Perry, the chief executive of the children's charity Barnardos, characterised the benefit cap as a sibling penalty, saying most families receiving universal credit are in work, and many are struggling for reasons beyond their control, such as family breakup, the death of a partner, or losing a job. There are so many factors into why people need this cap lifted. Yet this policy denies families the support they need to afford the basics so they have enough to eat and can afford to heat their homes properly. Children are ultimately paying the price, growing up in poverty and dealing with the consequences of this for the rest of their lives. According to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, the IFS, the policy costs low-income families an average of £4,300 a year, the equivalent of 10% of their income in lost benefits. Government statistics showed last year that more than half of those impacted by the 2-child limit were single-parent families. Moreover, the same data showed that 57% of those affected had already had at least one adult in paid employment. The number of children affected by the cap is predicted to increase, even with the overall population that has been forecast to decline. Last year, 1.6 million children, 1 in 9 of all UK children, were impacted by the cap. That number represents an increase of 100,000 over the previous year, according to the IFS. Moreover, if the cap remains in place, an additional 250,000 children will be affected by next year, rising to an extra 500,000 by 2029, the IFS data shows. Exacerbating the difficulties faced by families affecting the two-child restrictions is previous legislation capping the overall volume of state payments that families are entitled to. Introduced in 2013, the benefit cap limits the amount of benefits that most working-age households can receive if they work fewer than 16 hours a week. And the rest is basically about whether they will scrap it or not. So now, what's happened since then, guys? Well, Starmer's number 10 advisor on young people wanting the two-child benefit cap scrapped. The Prime Minister faced his first rebellion as Labour MPs backed the SNP's vote on scrapping the policy. So 7 Labour MPs stood up and said, I'm not for child poverty. I want to give our children the best futures they possibly can. And if that means the government needs to put their hands in their pockets in doing so, yes, I'm all for that. Now, we know that taxes are going to rise under a Labour government. Taxes were going to rise regardless of what was the outcome of the general election. But would you be in favour of tax rises if it meant more children were out of destitute poverty? That's a very important question I'd like you to answer in the comments down below. So Keir Starmer's new advisor on children and young people has repeatedly called for the two-child benefit cap to be scrapped. The Prime Minister faced his first rebellion on Tuesday night when 7 Labour MPs backed the Scottish National Party, that's the SNP, in a vote on scrapping the policy. Those MPs have since had the whip suspended. The new number 10 advisor, Rachel Stratton, formerly the Associate Director at the Institute of Public Policy Research, the IPPR, for Work and Welfare States, has also previously criticised the policy, including describing the cap as punctuate and called on former Conservative government to end it, the ICAN reveal. By the way, Keir Starmer also wanted it scrapped when he was running for the leadership contest to become the next Labour leader. I wonder what happened to that guy. The former Shadow Chancellor John MacDonald, who was among those backing the SNP's amendments in the King's Speech, said Starmer is now surrounded by ministers and senior policy advisors who are against the benefit cap. Last week, Ms Stratton publicly announced that she would be joining the policy unit at Downing Street to lead on children and young people in a post she shared on social media. The unit provides advisory directly to the Prime Minister. On the 18th of June, Ms Stratton posted on X, formerly Twitter, to keep the two-child limit is to plan for a substantial increase in child poverty over the next Parliament. This was after Starmer told Sky News on the 12th of June during a leaders' event in Grimsby that the policy would not be in Labour's manifesto and he's not going to make promises that I cannot keep. He said it was a difficult choice and it would be an anti-child poverty strategy, but that Labour would inherit a broken economy. And this is the argument that they will consistently make, is that there isn't this argument that they will continuously make is saying that there's no money to do this, that we can't afford to lift this two-child benefit cap. This is the argument that they're painting to you guys. Yeah, this is important. Yeah, this is the picture that Labour want to argue to you, is that we can't get rid of this cap. The finances are broken. There is no magic money tree for child poverty, guys. There's one when it comes to defensive budget. There's one for aid and foreign. There's one for, obviously, a Rwanda scheme. But there isn't one for poverty, guys. There's no magic money tree for poverty. There's magic money tree for other things, but there's no magic money tree for poverty. That's what they want you to think. The cap, which was introduced under Conservatives in 2017, yep, we read that already. An IPPR article published in 2022, co-authored by Ms Stratton and economics Henry Parker, said that families are increasingly feeling the impact of punctuate universal credit policies, as the combined impact of an unjust benefit cap and the two-child limits are pulling more families into deeper poverty. In an article published by the think tank in 2020, the co-authors Miss Stratton and former IPPR Scotland Director Russell Gunson called on the previous Tory government to end the two-child limit and benefit cap. The Institute for Fiscal Studies also published a research in June saying that without reform, the two-child limit will affect 6,700 additional children by the end of the next Parliament. Stratton said on X that this research was encouraging, writing in physical terms, scrapping the two-child limit is notably cost-effective, 10 grand for every child lifted out of poverty. So Starmer last night backed rebellion from Labour MPs who signed on the amendments to the King's Speech calling for the benefit cap to be scrapped immediately. The Labour amendments were not selected for a vote, so former Shadow Chancellor McDonald said he would back an SNP amendment instead, joining other disgruntled Labour MPs. He told the Eye, Keir Starmer is now surrounded by both ministers and senior policy advisors that have all supported the scrapping of the two-child limit. It's a policy that will inevitably be adopted, so the plea from many in the PLP, that's the Parliamentary Labour Party, is to take drama out of this and not to make some loyalty test just to get on and implement it. With a majority of 174, the government was not at risk of losing the vote. But, it provided Labour MPs with an opportunity to voice their opposition and pressure the Prime Minister to remove the cap. The SNP amendment has been endorsed by 21 MPs, including members from the Plaid Cymru, the Green Party, the SDLP, the Alliance Party and 3 independents, including Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. The 7 Labour MPs were Mr O'Donnell, Sir Keir's former leadership rival Rebecca Long-Bailey, Aspina Belgium, Richard Burden, Ian Bride, Imran Hassan and Zara Zoltar. If I mispronounce any of the names, I apologise. They will now sit as independents for 6 months, after which there will be a review. In a video posted on X, Mr Donald said, "I don't like voting for other parties' amendments, but I'm following Keir Starmer's example," as he said, "put country before party." So when Keir Starmer said country first, party second, did you think that the country was put first in this issue, guys? I don't think it was. So I'm putting lifting children out of poverty before party whipping. When Tony Blair came to power in 1997, one of his first rebellions was over a controversial bill to cut benefits for single-parent families. 47 Labour MPs voted against the government and around 100 abstained, while one minister and 2 private parliamentary secretaries, PPSs, quit their jobs. This included Alan Miliband, who resigned from his role as PPS to Health Minister. He is now advisory registry on healthcare. On Tuesday, Downing Street told reporters that the state of the public finances did not mean that action could not be taken to tackle child poverty. Again, this is what they want you to know. We can't afford it. There's no money. There's no magic money tree for this, but there is a magic money tree for other things, but just not for this, guys. This is the premise and the mindset that the Labour government wants to introduce to you. And by the way, just for reference as well about Tony Blair and some of the controversy, he had both left-wing and right-wing people within his government. Yes, he should face actions for taking us to war, without a shadow of a doubt. But at least in his government, he had a balanced cabinet. It's not very balanced, Keir Starmer's one, I have to say. The Prime Minister's official spokesperson says, when it comes to that policy, there is a simple reason that the government didn't include it in the manifesto, and that is the government isn't prepared to make unfunded promises that can't be kept. Yeah, the Chancellor has actually set out the situation of facing the public finances is worse than previously thought, and that's why we'll be providing an update on that in due course. But that doesn't mean we can't take action to tackle child poverty, and we are developing an ambitious strategy to reduce child poverty and give children the best start in life. Now, on this position itself, a part of me does feel like that they do want to tackle child poverty. However, they just don't want, the premise obviously that they want to paint is that we just can't do it by putting our hands in our pockets. And the thing is that what is the solution then here? There's a lot of complex issues when it comes to child poverty, you guys. That is for sure. So the next thing I want to show you guys is the latest YouGov poll, because obviously some of you guys obviously are probably for it and some of you are against it. But this was the 8th and 9th of July from YouGov here, this poll. So it says 6 in 10 Britons think that the 2-child benefit limit should be kept, including half of Labour voters, though 18 to 24-year-olds tend to be opposed. And currently there is a 2-child limit on the number of children parents can claim. relative welfare benefits, and do you think the limit should be kept or should it be abolished? So the purple highlights of those should be kept, the grey is not unsure, and the red is should be abolished there. So it goes by it's got by parties there and by age. So 2024 for Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem and Reform voters there. So 81% of Conservative voters say it should be kept. 50% of Labour voters said it should be kept. 54% of Lib Dem voters should be kept. 84% of Reform voters should be kept. You can see there of those it should be abolished. Very different numbers there. The only difference in those who think it should be abolished is by age. 18 and 24s think it should be abolished, but every single other age thinks it should be kept. Now, another question is, why do people want to keep it? And this is where the media plays a role. You see, for those who've been paying attention, there was a little thing called Benefits Britain, TV series, where it showed parents of having multiple kids, like 10, 11 kids and whatnot, making lots of getting benefits off the system, claiming benefits off the government system, not working and having lots of children. Now, this was a minority of very small minority of people, but because it was put in TV series and whatnot, it gave people the mindset that there are people in this country who are taking advantage of us. Now, are there people taking advantage of the system? Absolutely. But in doing so, so many people have been harmed as a result of this. So people have this in their mindset now, that everybody is just ripping off the benefit system, that everyone has to be ripping off the benefit system, and that is just not the reality. That is not the reality. So many people have suffered as a result of that series. And then you have a media that is pumping out, has been pumping out this reminder as well, from all the way from years and years ago, which is why you now have a situation where people have this mindset about the two-child benefit cap. Henceforth, why YouGov Polling is showing most people are against it. But you can see there, the youngsters know what's happening, but the vast majority, but the other ages don't see that, because they don't. They think it's all people taking advantage of the system, and that's not to be the case, guys. So I also want to show you this. I'll show you this as well, showing just how pathetic some Labour MPs are as well. So, Torsten Bell, it's immoral to push children into poverty, but that's what the benefit cap does. Claimants were supposed to be deterred from having more children, but the policy has made families poorer, not smaller. 3 months ago, Torsten Bell described the two-child benefit cap as immoral. That night, as a Labour MP, he voted to keep it. This clip here, but thanks to credit to No Justice MGT, do check out her YouTube channel and her Twitch channel. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Speaks a lot of volumes as well about Labour on this as well.
The two-child limit is a really big deal. It has increased poverty. It's a terrible policy. It's done exactly what we knew it would do, and it's done it in a terrible way, and it's rolling out for years. I think all parts of the Labour Party think this is a terrible policy, and all parts of the Labour Party will want to see it abolished at some point. It's a terrible policy. It's a terrible policy.
Such a terrible policy that the vast majority of Labour backed it. And then finally, guys, I just want to share this this here from Channel 4 here, the final context before I give my final thoughts.
It requires a sort of pause of an intake of breath when you say how early this rebellion is happening. I mean, a lot of these MPs, some of the MPs are in that building, not necessarily the rebels, haven't even given their maiden speeches. A lot of them have only just sworn the oath, only just arrived. But the MPs tonight, the Labour MPs who are going to vote for an SNP amendment to the King's Speech are going to come in for very special punishment. I understand they've each been told, there are something like 6 or 7 of them, that they are going to lose the Labour whip. They will be suspended from the Labour whip, possibly for 6 months. So those 6 months would include, say, the budget, when they might fancy another rebellion. All day long, this pressure has been burning off lots of other rebels on the Labour side, some of them brand new MPs who were thinking of voting the same way as this hardcore 6 or 7. A lot of those are going to abstain. I'm told they won't come in for punishment, but this particular punishment, suspension of the whip when you've just arrived in the House of Commons, be it re-elected in these MPs' case, is absolutely extraordinary. One of them is John McDonnell, who was Shadow Chancellor, of course, under Jeremy Corbyn, Rebecca Long-Bailey, who was Shadow Business Secretary. John McDonnell helped Keir Starmer get his original job in Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet. They potentially will be sitting, 6 or 7 of them we think, as independents, only a few days really, barely a few weeks after having won their re-elections to the House of Commons as Labour MPs. It is a sign of intent by the Labour leadership that they don't intend to have many rebellions like this. Their tolerance of rebellions is very low. They say this is very specific, the government, to this amendment because it was an SNP amendment and you shouldn't be voting for SNP stuff on the King's Speech, but on the left they're saying they're coming for us. They've been coming for us for a while. This is proof.
So what is saying there, I think is quite interesting, guys, is if it had been a Labour amendment, would they have voted differently? Would Keir Starmer have voted differently? If this another argument has been because it was the first challenge to the Labour government. Some people have argued that because it was the first challenge to the Labour government, and it was a challenge to the King's Speech because of obviously the 2-child benefit cap, because it was from the SNP, that Keir Starmer needed to show strength to show that he was in control. So some people have pointed out that, they needed to show the strength, that they needed to stick by, they needed to show their unity and whatnot, to rule over this party, this government, and show where they stand, sort of thing. So some people have also said that if this wasn't the first rebellion, if there was like a few months of Labour being in power and they had this amendment put forward, some people have said that it would have been different. But the actual answer is we just don't know. We can speculate whether or not if it had been a Labour one and if it had been done a couple of months later, things would be different or whatnot. But the fact of the matter is this. The SNP, yes, they did bring this forward. It was not Labour, it wasn't any other party, it was them that brought this forward. This is the SNP also brought forward that the Gaza vote, which obviously that was which was right to do so, and I think at that time it was a very bad image for Labour, very bad for the Speaker as well. And it is very clear to me that the 2-child benefit cap is hampering lots of children up and down the UK, particularly in England, sorry, they don't have it in Scotland, my apologies, but the 2-child cap in Scotland, but here in particular in England, they're severely suffering as a result of this. But there is this mindset that people have now that if you have more than 2 children, that you shouldn't have any help whatsoever. And that those before 2017, obviously they're still receiving it, but those after now are now suffering. People who want to have a real big family can't have it anymore. There was also a talk about I had a while ago, and never really got a straight answer from anyone in the comment section down below. Would anyone be interested if the cap was raised to 4, 5 or 6 child benefit cap instead of a 2-child benefit cap? Never got a straight answer from anybody in the comments about that. Child poverty is very real in the UK. It should be dealt with. This should not be a discussion. We should not have a conversation about wanting to get them out. Now, Labour are saying the right things, but on this, actions speak louder than their words. And that night, their actions painted a very dark picture for some people. To others, some people see it as the right thing and saying that they will deal with child poverty. I've always said that we need to give the Labour government a chance to show what they can do. Judge them in the first 100 days is what I said. But this is the first real test of questions about this Labour government. Lots of people have been saying in the comments saying that Labour are just no different than the Conservatives. This first sign definitely shows that to me. So guys, what do you guys think? What do you guys make of the 2-child benefit cap? What do you think about it all? Do you think the SNP was right to bring forward the amendment? Do you think those Labour MPs was it wrong for them to have their whips taken away from them because they voted with their conscience on it? Do you think that Labour were right to keep the 2-child benefit cap and the benefits of doing so? As I've explained, there are some benefits to keeping it, but I think there's more negatives that outweigh the positives in it. But maybe some of you have even more points to argue in the comment section down below. So let me know what you guys honestly think. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button, would greatly appreciate. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you could do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.